Hello, my name is Rob Meyer-Kukan from Seven Notes Natural Health in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I'm so pleased that you have joined me for this interview with my friend Laverne Santangelo. Hello, Laverne. Thank you for joining me today.
Rob, how are you?
I'm doing great. So
Great.
Laverne is a life coach, a yoga teacher, and a counselor, or would you say you're a therapist?
Yes, they're
Therapist.
therapist. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in Michigan.
Licensed professional counselor. There we go. By
Yeah.
trade, Laverne is also military, yes?
Retired, yeah, retired
Retired
Army.
military. So thank
Yeah,
you for your service.
thank you.
And she is located in Rochester Hills and currently offering some of the things that we're going to talk about today online, which is
Yeah,
kind of the way of the world right now, isn't it?
it is. It is. Certainly, I know. Wow. It's
Absolutely is.
a lot.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's start off by having you tell me about your yoga journey. How did you get into yoga?
Well, it's what it sounds very. I'm gonna tell you, it sounds very like teenager type of story. But you know what? It is what it is. It's like so compatible to how I ended up joining the army. It's like my friend was like, "Hey, we should think about going to the 6-week program, and the army is paying like really good money, and we don't have to sign up permanently. We can just go check it out." And off I went, to join the army, over 30 plus years ago. So I actually found myself in the same predicament with trying out yoga. And I'm gonna be honest, I had tried out yoga a couple of times, like years ago, but I just really didn't get into it. I didn't really understand it, and I was like, you're just in that point, at that stage in your life. And so, fast forward to 2 years ago, I'm sitting in the lunchroom with one of my dear wise friends, Roz, and she says, "Hey, she says, I'm thinking about checking it out, hot yoga." And I go, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah." And Roz is that type of person. She's like, we call her the witch doctor in the office because she's always coming in with like, holistic, she has a very holistic approach to taking care of herself. And she's always bringing in, herbs and, medications if somebody's sick, and, here, try this cough syrup I made, from these herbs. And she also makes fabulous soap, her soap, no chemicals. It's beautiful, And so she's always, she's that holistic, lady in the office, and which is perfect because we, work in mental health. And so, and she also practices Reiki. And so now she was like, "Well, I'm thinking about yoga." And I go, "Really?" And I said, "Hot yoga?" And she goes, "Yeah." And she said, Bikram, the 26 and 2. And I said, "Well, I kind of heard of it." And then I said, "Well, okay." So I had my phone, and I picked up my phone and I looked someplace up. And I said, "Oh, great." I said, "There's a class on Thursday. And guess what? They have a 30-day special, for $30. Oh, and Thursday's payday." So I said, "Are we going?" And she
Perfect.
goes, "Sure, let's go." And so we went, we went in Thursday, and we went that Thursday evening, after work. And it was tough, but I felt fabulous afterwards. If you're not, 26 and 2 is you do each posture twice, and you're in a hot room, 105 degrees and 40% humidity for 90 minutes. Okay. And so I felt great afterwards. And, I wasn't sure if I did feel good, but I still wasn't sure I was going to come back because it's a challenging yoga to start off with. That is the hardest yoga to start with. And I thought to myself, what on earth, how is it, I just ended up picking the hardest, the toughest one, but I fell in love with it. And I think because it was a challenge and it matched my personality, it matched my personality. It kind of falls in line, with my whole military career and that,
Sure.
the strenuous exercises and calisthenics, because it's calisthenics, that originated in India.
Mhm.
So Calcutta, India. So I guess it was just a perfect marriage. You know what
That's
I'm
cool.
saying? And so once I started Rob, I just never stopped. So here we are, fast forward 2 years later, and now I'm learning how to teach it. And
Wonderful.
just lots of benefits. So yeah, that's how I ended up there.
So that's a perfect transition. You say lots of benefits, and certainly we're in unprecedented times, at least in
Mhm.
most of the population of the world's lifetime. We've never experienced a pandemic similar to
Right,
what we're
right.
going through right now. So, what is your favorite yoga posture for centering and stress relief?
I love half tortoise,
Okay.
which I'm telling you, at first, that was probably that's a pose that and I don't want to say struggle, because in yoga, where you are is where you are in the pose.
Hmm.
But for me, that was a hard one to, really get centered in, because, you're tucking your chin to your chest and you're going down into a fold, and you're holding, you got to keep your arms up, the edges of your pinky fingers, down on the floor, and your wrists are up, and you got your head down in this pose, your head down, on the mat, trying to get centered and breathe. But I love that pose because it really does, after you come out of it, it generates a lot of energy.
Nice.
And it is a very calming pose that you can really sink down and relax in and pay attention to your breath. It's a great pose if you struggle with anxiety, depression. And what they say is that pose is actually equal to 8 hours of sleep at night. So if you ever start to have a little bit of lag, in the middle of your work day, that's a great pose to get down on the floor and do, you
Perfect.
know, whip out your mat in the middle of your office, I don't know, in your cubicle, wherever you are, and just kind of rejuvenate. So, yeah.
So is this a pose that you go into from a seated position or a standing position?
You are on the floor. You're
Okay.
seated on the
Okay.
floor. Yep. Half tortoise. Um, and I'm just, I don't know how to, well, I don't want to have to move everything around, but
Sure.
if anybody would like to look it up, half tortoise. But basically, and it's, you know what? It's a really cool, graceful pose too. You know what I'm
Nice.
saying? I mean, because you're sitting on your heels,
Mm.
and your arms come up very nicely, and you just kind of go down,
Yeah.
and you come back up out of it very nice, very gracefully. So it's all, it's about that breath and being mindful in it and being present in it. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
you get position on the floor.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So while we're sort of discussing the current public health situation with coronavirus and COVID, why do you believe that yoga is a beneficial tool, particularly in light of this time period?
Oh wow. Uh, my family, they probably are sick of me, because every time they start to complain about something, or they start to say, well, this is hurting me or that is hurting me, I'm like, do some yoga. And they're like,
You're hooked.
do some yoga, and they're like, is that your answer to everything? I'm like, but I guess because it's just helped me so much.
Sure.
But what I'll say is that why, a big, I would say the number one reason why yoga during COVID, because really most of us are stressed out about it.
Mhm.
Most of us are stressed. There's so much unknown that creates a lot of anxiety. It creates a lot of fear. And you know what? You're operating, as my nephew said, the younger people say, you're operating at 10, all the time. And when you're operating at 10, um, you are you are wearing out, and that sympathetic nervous system is just way too much, getting way too much action, and the cortisol levels are going up, and all that stuff creates disease, dis-ease. And what yoga does is it balances out with the parasympathetic, because in the parasympathetic nervous system, we want rest and digest. Okay, that's where we really want to be. We want a balance between those two. And that's what yoga does. With yoga, during this time, there is nothing, we can't go back and change the past. We can't go forward in the future, but what we can control is the present. And that's what yoga is all about. So let's be in the present and control what we can control, because we absolutely cannot control COVID. We just can't.
Yeah.
And so, you know, during this time, if all possible, do a little bit of yoga, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes. You don't have to be perfect to do it. It doesn't require you to leave your house. You can do it anywhere. And, you know, what I've learned these last couple of years, and just talking to other yoga, you know, people that have been teaching yoga forever, I mean, you'll be surprised at the things that yoga is. It's not always in a posture, you know, just sitting, you're doing yoga, you know, just being mindful of everything that you do and paying attention to your breath. You're doing yoga. And that's what you want. You want to slow down the breath. You want that connection, that mind, body, soul connection. And that's why yoga is like, we all should be doing it during COVID.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you are doing some unique things with yoga and coaching. Tell me a little bit about how you're pairing the two together.
Oh, wow. Well, let's see. Coaching, you know, is a lot about moving forward. A lot of times it's about, you know, accomplishing goals, you know, maybe even a new beginning. You know, maybe you've gone through some type of transition, you're ready to start all over. And, you know, again, you know, what's involved with a lot of that? At times it can be a lot of worry, it can be a lot of stress. So why not take your time? Why not take some time and let's add some yoga to that and become more centered and more mindful and pay attention about to where we're going. And so, you know, in a coaching session, you know, that I would have with someone, you know, depending on what their needs are, you know, right before I would always say, you know what, let's take a little bit of time and just get centered, you know, and just kind of maybe stretch a little, kind of, you know, focus on the breathing, you know, see where we are, you know, before we move forward and start to talk about the business at hand. I'm offering, you know, I offer two different, I'm teaching 2 different yoga sessions right now. Nice. On Tuesdays, I teach the 26 and 2. And, you know, it's a little bit more rigorous, but, you know, all through that, you know, we're focusing on the positive. We're focusing on moving forward. We're focusing on ourselves, you know, looking at, you know, going inward. You know, you have to look inward, you know, to really, really be able to go forward, right? Going inward helps you identify the barriers or obstacles that you might be creating, or maybe even help you to identify, you know, barriers or, you know, negative thoughts that you might even be creating that's getting in the way of you accomplishing your goal. You know, or starting over, whatever it is you're attempting to do. On Thursdays, I offer, it's more of like a yin yoga, heart healing yoga. Nice. And that's a little bit more restorative. And we're just kind of, you know, just a lot more reflection, a lot more meditation. And again, working on the negative thoughts, and just kind of, and releasing, you know, be able to move forward and some healing.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, what I love about this is that this overarching theme of mindfulness that is so prevalent in our community these days is being combined with multiple different skill sets that you bring. And it's really addressing body, mind, and spirit, which is a really beautiful marriage. So if you're interested in learning about the classes and offerings, particularly for yoga and coaching that Laverne offers. Laverne, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Well, I am on Instagram. That's my
Okay.
jam.
All right.
So my Instagram page is just Laverne Santangelo, your everyday life coach. So you can, direct message me. I'm also on Facebook as Laverne Santangelo. You can message me there. My website is under construction.
Okay.
That'll be lavernesantangelo.com. That will be up and going in June.
Beautiful. And I'll make
Yeah.
sure that all of that is in the comments or the notes below, so that if people want to reach you, they can do that. So if you're watching this video, thank you for staying with us all the way through. Make a comment below. What's your favorite way to help you find calm and relaxation during any stressful time, but particularly this time of coronavirus and COVID? And if yoga is your go-to, what's your favorite pose? I keep thinking of the restaurant downtown Ann Arbor, the Slurping Turtle. But if the half turtle is your pose, we'd love to hear about that. If you've got another pose that you would suggest for stress relief, put that in the comments below as well. So I'm going to do a second interview with Laverne a week from today. So be sure to tune back in, and we're going to talk about yoga and the benefits of yoga in the bedroom. So be sure to tune back
Yeah.
in. And thank you so much for being with me today, Laverne. And have a great
Yes.
day. See ya.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Yes.